Hello, everybody. My name's James, and welcome to the Fan View, where today we're going to be focusing on all things Manchester United with our United correspondent, Gary Robinson. How are you, Gary?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate. I'm top of the league, and so
Yeah.
I'm happy, and people know now that I'm not pre-recording this, which is good as well. It is Tuesday morning. United have a big game against Copenhagen in the Champions League tonight, but I think before we talk current matters, we should start with obviously the passing of Sir Bobby and your thoughts, mate.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the same as everyone's, really, that, sad and, what a legend he was for Man United and for English football, really. Played a long time before I started watching football, so I can't profess to have the greatest of understanding of him and all that. And probably like yourself, maybe James, probably stories from your dad and seeing videos of him and things like that. But anyone who can win a World Cup and a European Cup and Ballon d'Or and those those things speak for themselves. And he wasn't a bit part player in any of those. He was
No.
two in the final for the European Cup and two in the semi final of the World Cup. And obviously eras are hard to compare, aren't they? But when you watch the videos of him, that little body sway he had and that shot off both sides as well, right and left foot, done it at the highest level. And yeah, and then obviously stayed with the club. Apart from he managed at Preston for a bit, didn't he? But other than that, he was an ambassador and key to getting Ferguson to the club and key to keeping Ferguson at the club when maybe other non-footballing people might have been wavering on him. So, and I think the thing that sums up from my watching of him is when we beat Chelsea in the Champions League final and Peter Kenyon led Chelsea up and accepted a runners-up medal off Platini, I think it was, and Charlton led Man United up and refused a medal even though he was offered one. And I think you could just tell that kind of knowledge of football and that gentleman. You could just tell what kind of person he was. So, and to have done all of that, having recovered from the Munich air disaster, which I've read his book, and I think that obviously stayed with him his whole life. The guilt, I think he felt guilt on it, and how would you ever get over something like that? And I don't know, that's for him to say, but he probably arguably never did. But to have carried that and still achieved what he did probably sums him up. So
That's 65 years ago,
yeah,
which gives
yeah,
you an idea of how long he's been by association with Manchester United, right? I mean, I used sort of
yeah,
70 years as a reference yesterday.
yeah,
I guess that probably is. I mean, that's an
yeah,
insane number of years to be associated with a football club. Is it
yeah.
United's greatest ever player? Is that how
Um,
it's kind of held, or?
I suppose he is. I mean, I'm one of these who I don't like comment on greatest players if you haven't seen them.
Yeah, sure.
So, but if you're just looking at a body of work and a impact on the club and all of that, he's got to be right up there, hasn't he? He was the record goal scorer until Rooney picked him
For
towards the
both
end of his career.
United and England.
Precisely, yeah. Record United appearance maker until Giggs overtook him in that Champions League final against Chelsea, I think. So, you know, their records that stood, they've only been broken in our recent lifetime. So that's how long they stood. So, yeah, he's got to be right up there. There's already a statue of him outside Old Trafford. So yeah, he's right up there, isn't he? Certainly in the top. Probably he's the top one, isn't he? But yeah, I don't think there'd be much argument of him being. He's definitely top three, or however people see it.
Yeah, look, it's very difficult for us to talk about how good
Yeah,
he
that's it. I
was
feel.
because it's
Yeah,
not
I feel a bit.
our era.
Yeah, yeah, I feel a bit almost like you're not doing him justice, really. But
No, I said that
is
yesterday. It's like I can't find the
yeah,
right words that will do
yeah,
justice to
because
it.
yeah, and even if even probably people who watch him probably couldn't. So people you're only watching him removed, and what you hear from people who did see him. So,
I'll
but
tell you
yeah,
one little story though. Obviously, World Cup winner 1966, League title winner 1967, European Cup winner 1968. In the World Cup in Mexico in 1970, England were 2-0 up against West Germany in the quarter
yeah,
final. And Sir Alf Ramsey took him off to save him for the semi
to rest
final.
him. Yeah, I know.
and we lost.
I know.
Not in the semi. We lost to West Germany
I
from
know,
2-0
yeah.
up.
I know,
So
yeah.
that gives
Makes
you
you
an
wonder
idea
how,
of his
yeah.
importance.
Because Germany went on to win that tournament as well, didn't they? So
No, Brazil beat Italy in the
oh,
final, didn't
Brazil, yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, you don't
they?
know
They were
where
an average team.
Germany. Yeah, I suppose they had Gerd Muller though, didn't they? So that yeah,
That was sarcastic on Brazil, Gary, I
yeah.
think.
All around Brazil, yeah. No, but you never know, do you? I mean, if we'd have got ourselves to the semi, so would we have been in the Italy semi then? I think, wouldn't we? From
Yeah, we'd
memory,
have played it in the semi. Obviously, we played
yeah.
that great Brazil team in the
In the
group stage.
groups, yeah, yeah. Have you ever? I watched that game once. I think they put it on before a World Cup. It's a trudge to watch through that one. But
Is it really?
yeah, because I think the goal and the is it Jarzinho scores, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the goals early on, I think, and that famous save from Pele's late on, and the rest of it's just a load of knackered lads playing in massive heat in Mexico, and yeah, but obviously it was like what we're talking 60 years ago, so yeah.
Obviously, the loss of Sir Bobby Charlton's a big loss, obviously, to the football club. And obviously, I guess in mourning at the moment, and it will obviously be emotional at Old Trafford tonight.
Mm.
How does the football club feel otherwise at the moment? I think a lot on the outside will be looking in and going, yeah, not all's well there.
No, it's felt a bit of an omnishambles all season, really. The on-field stuff. I mean, I think we've won 6, lost 6 in all competitions, so that just shows you how inconsistent we are. And I don't think we've beaten anyone of note. Just like I think the matches we've won, you'd probably expect us to have won. The teams that you maybe thought, can we challenge ourselves against a Bayern or a Tottenham or an Arsenal? Close. We weren't embarrassed in any of those games, but we didn't look like winning either of it. So yeah, bit of a nothing season on the pitch so far. And then obviously the takeover seems to be rumbling on and on and on and on. Is the manager lost the dressing room? Has he lost the faith of people? It's all looking a bit, it's starting to feel a bit like Solskjaer's last season, where you just think, well, it's not
Petering out, kind of.
yeah,
Like the
it's not.
momentum's gone.
Yeah, that's it. It's not. You're not like, oh, he's got to go. He's awful. It's just like, is there something else that we could do here? That's what it's beginning to feel like.
I mean, it's very fair what you say about the results you've had, because there's probably a case to say you've only played 3 teams who would expect to finish in the top half, which is Tottenham, Arsenal, and Brighton. Lost them all, also lost to Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
And I think anyone who watched Wolves opening day thought you were fortuitous to get out of that. 1-0 down to Brentford going into injury time.
Yeah.
That's a happy day. You get the game won at the end. Took a late goal from your fullback at Bramall Lane at the weekend, who many think's the weakest team in the league.
Yeah.
A lot of people give Burnley a slapping.
Yeah.
You went there 1-0 and laboured, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of question marks.
2-0 down to Forest after 5 minutes, and that's turned that around.
Yeah, but that one I think deserves credit to obviously come back from that situation.
Yeah.
A lot of things I keep hearing from United fans, though, as soon as you mention the idea that Ten Hag might not be the right person, he's a staunch defense of almost it doesn't matter. And that's because of the hierarchy at the football club. We now know that Sheikh Jassim's obviously pulled out the bidding for the football club, and we think that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's going to get a minority stake in the football club. Is that how it looks at the moment?
Well, they're looking at 25%, yeah. So it's a decent chunk, but yeah, it certainly wouldn't be enough to run the club, depending how it all slices down. So yeah, that's far from ideal, really, because it sort of still leaves the question hanging as to what's going to happen going forward, because there's no way INEOS and Ratcliffe are going to be happy with 25%, but there still doesn't seem to be any indication of what the Glazers are waiting for, and they seem to be waiting for incredible sums of money. And look, it's their club. If they don't want to sell it, they don't have to sell it. But I don't know what level of money they're looking for, and I don't know how realistic it is for that value to ever get there, because there's a lot of money in football, but how much bigger can that Man United club? The Premier League TV deals have stagnated, shall we say? They're not right, obviously, because of COVID and all the other things. They've pretty much stagnated. The Champions League money might go up a little bit with this new format, but we're not guaranteed to be in it. So, the marketing side of it, where 10, 15 years ago we were world leaders in, having a partner for everything, people have caught up with us on that. And at the same time as the caught up on that, they've surpassed us on the football pitch. So we're probably not the brand. We're probably in amongst, a City, a Barcelona, a Liverpool, whoever. Whereas 15 years ago, we were, so I don't really know where the Glazers are expecting that growth to come, unless the Super League's not dead in the background. I can't see realistically where that money comes from.
I think that there was a lot of talk. There was this kind of 6 billion figure.
Yeah,
was getting bandied about, and we think that Sheikh Jassim's bid might have gone to 7.
Yeah,
and still not been accepted. And I think there was a re-looking at the situation for United, possibly because at the time that it was opened out to say bids, we'll listen to bids. You weren't in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Then you got back in, you're looking at the new format. Then we're getting closer to the new Premier League TV deal. You've also got the formation of the Club World Cup, which at the moment is difficult to foresee how United would get in that as well at the moment. But I think there was a lot of avenues where they thought, maybe the valuation will increase because there are a number of boom things that could happen to make football
I think,
even richer, if you will.
Yeah, but I think they all seem... I mean, the Club World Cup, we don't really know what that's going to look like. We don't know how much money that's going to be worth. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't know if we're going to be in it. The Champions League, I think that money that'll go up a little bit, won't it? From what I've seen, it's not going to be a massive increase. And again, we might not be in it. So I mean, look, I might be wrong, but I really worry don't worry, but I don't think the Glazers. I think the Glazers might have got it wrong as to where they think that valuation can go past. If 7 billion. I mean, I don't think what are they waiting for then?
Well, it comes down if it's not in the Champions League, doesn't it?
Well,
and with every passing month, if you will, that something's not being done with the football stadium. Well,
that's it, because I think both Ratcliffe and the Qatari bid both said that they would rebuild the stadium, didn't they? No, the Glazers aren't going to do that. So yeah, and in the Champions, I mean, how many times have we been in it? We must have been in it sort of every other year for the last 10 years. We're not a mainstay in anymore, are we? So that's almost got to be out of the equation as in terms of selling it, because you can't guarantee that we're going to be in it.
No, but if you're selling it at a point that it is in it,
well,
that's all I mean.
Yeah, maybe.
The fans, obviously, the majority of which, obviously, I think it's fair to say the majority obviously want the Glazers gone. Yeah. Under this minority investment, that's not going to happen. So the mood is not going to improve amongst the fan base, surely.
Well, no, I mean, unless we get a clear communication from either the Glazers or Ratcliffe as to, I'm buying 25% now because by, 2026 or whatever, we'll have bought, the rest of it. But that's not come out. I mean, I think the Glazers only own 69% of it at the minute. So there's still a lot more shares that Ratcliffe would need to buy, and then presumably Ratcliffe and INEOS would then take it off the market completely. So they've still got a fair way to go. And I think the thing that probably complicates it is that the shares that you can buy in United, there's 2 sets of shares, and the second set of shares are worth 10 times the voting rights of the other set of shares. So the Glazers have got 69% of the business, but have 96% of the voting rights. So there's a long, long way, even at 25% of Man United, which is a chunky part.
This is something to do with every Glazer share is worth 10 of any other share.
That's it, yeah.
That right?
Yeah. So the B shares are worth 10 times the A shares, and I think the Glazers have got all of the B shares. So even at 25%, which is a chunky amount to own of a big football club, there's still a long, long way to go. And if there's not really communication about when that's going to happen, because if that's going to happen in the short term, well, they would do it now, wouldn't they? So presumably the Glazers are going to hang on and hang on and hang on for maybe the things you've spoken about, a Club World Cup, the American World Cup, making the football world go mad. I don't know. But if that's what they're hanging on for, then yeah, because the last year the Glazers probably had it easy because it felt like the end was in sight. If we've now gone back to where we were 2 years ago when they were invading the stadium and things like that, then yeah, it could get a bit nasty, but we'll have to see.
What's the thought process now? I'm trying to think how this works with Ratcliffe coming in a minority, right? Is he going to come in and oversee the football side of the football club then, or what's been said?
I don't know, but he's got. Well, the rumours are. I mean, none of them have come out and said anything yet. The rumours are that he'll take 25% for now and be in charge of football operations, but he can't be in charge of football operations if he's not in charge of
the money,
and who's buying players and all that kind of thing. So those two things just don't make sense. It's not like he hasn't got the, look, he's a incredibly wealthy man, but he hasn't got the footballing knowledge to be the director of football. He hasn't got that, I've seen talks of getting Dave Brailsford in and that from Sky Cycling. It's like, these aren't people who've worked in football who know where you can get a cheap player who's got loads of potential, or with the contacts to get an Mbappe, or and I'm not saying either of those. I'm not saying Mbappe is realistic, but what you'd expect at a club like that is that they can bring someone in who can find, the next Erling Haaland at £2 million from somewhere, or have they got contacts in these and they've got that relationship that they can say to an Mbappe or a Bellingham or whoever, and they can get them out of there. So it just doesn't seem very joined up.
There's been talk of a football person to come in. I think Paul Mitchell, who was with Maurizio Pochettino at Tottenham and recently at Monaco, Michael Edwards, who was at Liverpool, are two names that have been mentioned. Yeah. Edwards did a really good job at Anfield.
Michael Edwards would be an astonishing. I mean, his run of transfers that he got at Liverpool, I mean, they were all. Hardly ever got anything wrong, did he, for that spell? And probably with Klopp built that current Liverpool team. Mitchell, I'd be probably less keen on. I think, fair enough, he's been at some decent clubs, but all sort of money. What?
Some decent clubs.
Yeah, but he's not. You don't miss him at Spurs, do you? There's not Spurs fans there going, "Oh, I wish we had Paul Mitchell back." Is there?
No, there was a falling out.
Yeah. So, but if we get him, that's fine. But I still don't. The Glazers could have got Paul Mitchell in any time if they wanted. So maybe if Ratcliffe can get someone like that through the door. But the idea that they could then be in charge of the football side of it, because if Paul Mitchell or Michael Edwards says, right, I can get X, Y, and Z, but they're still going to have to knock on the Glazers' door and ask them to stump up the money for it. And if they say no, then where does that leave Ratcliffe? So I can't see how that would work really. But
how do you specifically feel about this takeover?
I want the Glazers to sell up, and I want, I didn't want the Qatari bid to go through, but I think I said on the last time I was on, we're unfortunately now, we're probably in the realms now, whoever buys it is going to be problematic in some way. And, there's not many 6 billion people with 6 billion quid who are, a philanthropist from Salford, are there?
But that's it as well. Are Ratcliffe and INEOS rich enough to eventually make a full takeover?
Oh yeah, their revenues are 10 times that of Man United's, aren't they? They're incredibly rich, aren't they? Especially with that INEOS money behind them. I think INEOS, like I say, I think their revenues are something like, is it 5 billion a year or something?
It probably leads to the question of why is this minority then?
Well, because the Glazers don't want to sell the whole lot. If the Glazers want to sell all of it, then INEOS would buy it in a heartbeat. But the Glazers don't want to sell because I think the Glazers probably don't want to sell at 5-6 billion if they think it's going to be worth 10 billion in 2 years. But like we've just said earlier, I don't think it can be worth that in 2 years because I don't think there's enough
I mean,
growth.
it's worth saying as well, there's been a lot of speculation about a split amongst the Glazers in terms of wanting to sell the club and some wanting to keep the club.
Yeah, I think there is that as well. I think two of them, I can't remember which two. I think two of them want are the ones who want to keep it and hold out for, silly money, as it were. And I think three of them think, let's just sell up and get $1 billion each and stay and go back to Tampa type thing. I'll not go back, stay in Tampa. But yeah, but again, you don't hear anything. You don't hear anything from them. They've not come out and said this is it. I suspect. I mean, it made people unhappy, but at least if they came out and said, "Look, it's our club, and we value £8 billion, and until that's met, we aren't selling." At least people would know where they stood, and at least a buyer would know where they stand. At the minute, it's just all smoke and mirrors, isn't it?
Yeah, and the on-field stuff isn't going to help the moves. Interesting as listening to a couple of people walking out the stadium at White Hart Lane last night saying, no one's moaning about Daniel Levy at the moment.
Yeah.
And I know it's true. And it should also be acknowledged that Manchester United fans were very much protesting against the Glazers when they were the best team in the league back in the late noughties. But certainly it won't help, right? Like you said, it was almost like you could see the wood through the trees last year, where it's like, right, team's improving, got back in the Champions League. It almost feels like you've gone back to the start of this now, doesn't it? Where, to be honest, finishing top 4 or 5 looks difficult at the moment unless things drastically improve. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's too early in the season, but I'd say it's done really. That I can't see.
Wow.
I can't see. Well, look, Man City are an absolute stick on for the top 5, aren't they? I would say Arsenal and Liverpool are. I don't think Spurs will regress out of that top 5 spot. I think nothing suggests that you will. So there's the normal top 4 gone, isn't it? So then Newcastle have kicked on again, I think. Brighton look good. There's too many teams there. And look, we're not miles off it. We're on 15 points, aren't we? We're not miles off it. But just like you've just gone through the wins this season in the league. There's
5 wins you'd have expected. You should actually be in a better position, arguably. Yeah.
Yeah, the points you'd probably say Crystal Palace we should have had that down as 3. Maybe Brighton at home. That is a tricky game, but you probably wouldn't expect to lose it, maybe. And then again, we go back to that away record against top teams. You can't keep losing to the top 6, the top 7. We can't keep doing it.
But it's margins, isn't it? Like at Tottenham, you were good in the first half and you missed chances, and then even at Arsenal, the Garnacho offside goal is so close.
Oh, I know, but it is margins. But I think what's frustrating is that when those margins go against us, that they absolutely cave in. And against, like you said, we were the best team against yourselves, and we conceded that first goal, and
the game was easy.
We were absolutely dreadful after that. And that happens time and time again. And obviously that was only a 2-0, but you can see it in the thrashings that we get against us. When we're winning games or the tight, we're quite a dogged, pragmatic, decent team with a good spirit. But once something goes against us, even with the players that we've, the Varans and Martinez and, those type of characters, the roof caves in and that you get 3s and 4s and 6s and 7s against us.
Who's responsible for that? The caving in, the kind of the Anfield performance. Who's that on? Is that on the manager or is that on the players as a whole?
Well, both, isn't it? Any group of players that consistently just packs it in like that, it's got to be on them, hasn't it? Obviously, the manager's got to try and instill that philosophy or whatever and that bit of steel. But some of that is, even in this, it should be on the players, shouldn't it? But yeah, that group doesn't seem to have it in them, and it's not just. It's been like that 3, 4, 5 years, hasn't it? When we had Pogba and Maguire and all that progression through, and that flakiness has maintained really.
So is it a culture problem?
Well, you've got to assume it has, hasn't you?
Where almost any manager is going to struggle with it.
Well, yeah, but is it that we're not ruthless enough? We keep too many players for too long. You know, I don't know what it is. I don't know how it's probably a indefinable thing how you change that culture, isn't it? But you do see clubs change it. So yeah, you've got to say it's the players and the manager, isn't it? And I do wonder, do we keep too many players who've been part of that around for too long? And it's all right saying, yeah, they're all right. You know, they're under it. You know, if it's proven that they're going to keep doing it, it might be time just to get rid and have a complete reset. But we never seem to do a complete reset. We fiddle with the margins, and then the next season we go right. We same again, and we never had that full reset. We sort of sell two and buy two, and
yeah, I used an example recently. I said it's almost like, right, you look at a United team and you go, there's 3 problems. By the time it fixes 3 problems, it's like there's 3 other leaks. There's 3 other holes have opened up, and it'll come fix them.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
Then you end up in this boat, I think, where you say someone like, well, we all know that won't, but there's players there, and you go, well, we need to improve that, but it's a bigger priority to buy a centre forward. And then the next one, we need to buy a goalkeeper. And before you know it, those players that we all identified that weren't good enough 4 years ago, they're still there because they've never been the biggest priority to get rid of. And now they're still there. And then that's what I'm saying. Is that why you get this thing of, is the mentality right? Because players who know that they probably shouldn't be there are still there, whilst we, like you say, plug one gap and let's buy a keeper, let's buy a strike, I don't know.
I think on Ten Hag, there's a very split opinion, I think, from neutrals at the moment. I think there's 2 ways you can kind of attack this as a positive and a negative for him. I think one is you look at how quickly people like Postecoglou and De Zerbi have gone in and got this system working and the brand of football. And then people go, well, when's it coming for Manchester United? But the other flip is, I don't think changing him's right. I agree with a lot of the perception at the moment is that almost whoever comes into this at the moment, whether it's because of upstairs or the investment of the squad or culturally around the club, whatever it is almost making it like an impossible job in a way. I mean, the stuff that the club have gone through with Mason Greenwood, Antony recently, other allegations, he's been put under the bus a bit, really, hasn't he, Ten Hag, from that perspective?
He has on some of it. I mean, some of it he's out. He wanted Mason Greenwood back at the club, so he's helped create that one. But as a wider point, I agree. Yeah, I think he'd probably say that he hasn't got the team and the squad that he wants, and that comes back to what I was saying. We'll buy you a full back and a winger and a whatever, and then next summer it can be the strike. We never had that full overhaul. Somehow still managed to spend a lot of money doing it. And you look at that team, you go, are we any better than when Mourinho left for the same reasons? Doesn't look like it. The thing about De Zerbi and Postecoglou, that's one of my criticisms on him. But do we know that Ten Hag's got a philosophy to bring with him? There's no,
I think the way that Ajax team performed in getting to the Champions League semi-finals 2018-19 and the way they did it, going to the Bernabeu, winning 4-1, going into Turin and overturning the deficit and winning it. And to be honest, I played my team for the majority of the 2 games in the semi-final and threw it away. But
we've never even seen, well, for my money, we've never even seen 2 consecutive games of any real style when he's been at United. So where's that gone? And he's not been out this season maybe because of injuries and the off-field stuff, but that wasn't the case for even last season when we were flying in that Christmas period. Even then, there was no real. But you wouldn't have been able to tell us how we played, would you? Really? It was all.
I don't think this identifiable style is coming through, and in a weird way, I think it's also damning. I keep hearing United fans say this a lot about reflecting on Solskjaer's period, in the sense that it was almost more identifiable under him because you knew what it was in terms of fast, quick transition, get it quite direct, not long, but direct into the quick players, and almost like in the bigger games, you were a huge counter-attacking threat.
Yeah, that's what, and it worked for the vast majority of Solskjaer's reign, and I think my worry with Solskjaer was that that's fine and it got us to a certain level, but it was never going to. It caused us problems when we had to, when we were top of the league for that couple of weeks after Christmas. Right, you need to beat Sheffield United at home. You need to beat an Everton at home, and I can't remember the other results now because it's a while ago. But when you can't play counter-attacking football against Sheffield United at home, and when we needed to get on the ball and win a match, we couldn't. And and Solskjaer finished second and got us to a European final. He wasn't a failure, but he was never going to have that thing to kick us on to the next level. And I think that's what we all thought we'd get with Ten Hag, was that he would have a more possession-based front foot football that would get us there. And it might come, but I can't see it.
Would the club, and it's worth saying, like the results at the end of Solskjaer's reign were disastrous, right?
Yeah.
4-1 at Watford. Was he in charge for the United 5-0?
At Liverpool? At Old Trafford?
At Old Trafford.
Yeah, that was one of his last games. Yeah.
So the results were bad. I think he'd said to the players at halftime at Watford, he's like, "You get me sacked here," basically.
Yeah.
But do you think if he was still in charge,
do
you think he'd be in a worse position now?
Oh, don't know. I don't know. I mean, given what had gone on in those 2 or 3 months in his last period, he was never coming back from that, and he was never going to resolve the Ronaldo problem, because I don't think Solskjaer wanted Ronaldo back for the reasons we've just spoken about. But he obviously played with Ronaldo. The club were always going to bring him back. I don't know how that would have resolved itself. And it probably took a Ten Hag, a bit of an outsider who probably never knew him, to say, I don't want you. I suppose you'd probably say we would have been in a worse position, because that last few months of Solskjaer was just so bad. I suppose it'd be interesting to see what Solskjaer could have done if he'd just said, no, I don't want Ronaldo back. I want to keep playing with the players that I've got. And obviously he would have lost Greenwood anyway, as it turned out. But he was trying to build a younger, different profile of team, wasn't he? So yeah. I think that's the interesting one. Where would United be under Solskjaer if he'd said no to Ronaldo? But
with that in mind on Ronaldo, are all the signings now Ten Hag's, or are some club and some him? I mean, we can look at like Antony and Onana, and because they played for him, we think, right, they're then Ten Hag signings. Yeah. But as signings like Varane and Casemiro, have they been his signings?
So I mean, Antony and Onana, Vegas, they were definitely Ten Hag's. I don't think I don't think he would have wanted Casemiro. I think that was the De Jong one. He wanted De Jong, and obviously that De Jong saga dragged on. And I think we probably then went next on the list, or Casemiro suddenly became available, didn't he, because of Real Madrid signings. So that's probably a bit of both, really. Varane was there before. Was Varane there before?
Was he? Okay.
I can't remember. I can't remember my seasons now. I think we had Varane the season before, didn't we? Didn't we unveil him on the pitch when Ronaldo made his... I've got my season... They've all blurred into one now, these seasons. I can't remember when we bought Varane.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Ten Hag's in the chair, really, for these signings, in that, what he... because there's no way anyone at Man United is spending £80 million on Antony, is there? It's just not. None of us had heard of him, really. It wasn't like one of these ones that loads of clubs are after him. He just literally finished managing him. I can't believe anyone other than Ten Hag wanted Antony there, and you can see that with his treatment of him. He plays every week, even with everything that is alleged against him. We're not, bringing him back, getting back in the team. whereas someone like Sancho, who he didn't buy, whose performance levels have probably been similar, would we say? And yet, he obviously been a lot going on with obviously him and Sancho had an argument in training, but yeah. So I think Antony definitely was a Ten Hag one, and if he doesn't get that to work, which I thought towards the end of last season, Antony looked like he might be becoming a bit of a player, but it's just he shouldn't be at the club. I don't.
He
think
doesn't feel like he'll ever have enough product to have justified that money. And I think, to be honest, Manchester United as a club are probably normally going to overpay for clubs because of pay for players because of the size of the football club. But I don't ever look at him and think, yeah, you're going to get me 20 attacking returns across the season, or I can't see it.
I think what he's good at, Antony, is getting us up the pitch and retaining the ball, and he does do his shift defensively. And I think he's almost like our version of Grealish, but the two caveats being that Man City have got loads of other players who can score you the goals. Grealish doesn't need to return in that Man City team to do his job, does he? He's not there to get you. He's not like Sterling, who needed to get 20 goals a season. Plus, and then aside from that, Grealish does still chip in with, I don't know what he got last season, 8, 9 maybe. The odd assist. Antony gets you 3s and 4s. And we can't afford, given we can obviously afford it financially, but how poor our team is going forward, we can't afford a player like that.
Why is it moving from him to the others? Why is it poor going forward?
I mean,
it's not like you're short of good players. This is it. When we sit down and we look at the talent that's there, and Fernandes, Rashford, Højlund coming in. Yeah. Martial's not short of ability, is he? He might be short of a few other things. Mason Mount's come in. You're not short of good players.
No, so I mean, I don't know if some of it does it go back to that lack of identifiable attacking style, that when you've got good players who are on form, then they're always going to chip in and get you goals. But when you don't have that system, that philosophy to keep going back to, match after match after match, that you've got nothing to fall back on, and you are just relying on individual bits of skill, form, confidence, and you can see that with Rashford. I mean, Rashford had a great sort of season last season, but tailed off sort of March onwards. What's he got this season? 1 goal, is it, in all competitions? I mean, that's dreadful, isn't it? And would that happen in a team like Man City, where they know what they're doing going forward? They know that if Haaland's not at it, that doesn't matter, because the rest of us have still got this way of playing. We're still going to create chances for someone. I don't know if Man United have got that. It's, can a Fernandes create something out of nothing? Can a Højlund do something? Can Rashford do? Can Garnacho do something? Because there's no real difference between last season and this season. And yet Rashford's goals have absolutely plummeted off a cliff.
Fernandes essentially had an amazing sort of 2 to 3 month period after the World Cup, where, to be honest, almost like the best player in the league.
Yeah.
And it tailed off at the back end of last season. I think that's 4 goals since you beat Leicester at the end of February, I think. It's nearly November.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, he's won this season in, 12, 13 games. I think he's played all of them, I think. So,
is he fit?
I don't know. This is the thing with Rashford.
I think he is, because he was great for England last week. And he was good for England in Scotland as well, in the last break.
I think there's a thing with Rashford. You think, is he injured? Because he has played with big injuries before, because I think he's that kind of lad who would play with an injury.
Yeah.
So you think, is he? But the other thing is, he's always been quite streaky as well. When he came in the team, he went on a great run. Then he quieted down, his goal scoring quieted down a bit, and maybe it's just another one of those. But it doesn't bode well if you're trying to, get ourselves back in the mix, does it? If he's going to go through these spells, because the other thing is, even though he's going through this spell, he still gets played every week. Same with Antony. I think that's got to start festering among some of the others. Like, obviously already as with Sancho, but how long will Garnacho sit there and think, he's watching people who aren't scoring, who aren't doing anything, and yet he still doesn't really get a game. So
we should say there's some good young kids there coming through, aren't there?
Well, there looks to be, yeah, but they still don't get that many minutes, do they? Don't seem to trust him enough that much, and maybe that's because it's.
He seems to have flipped him about. It was like Garnacho played, Ballistri played, Hannibal played.
Yeah.
They all kind of had a little chance and then got taken back out.
Yeah, that's it, and it makes you wonder why. And it's like we're not in a great run of form, so you think he'd want to keep playing him, and yeah, maybe he just doesn't trust him enough yet, and he's trying to get back to basics. But yeah, it's a shame, really, because I think Garnacho could become a serious player, but you're not going to wait around there for another 3 years, is he? Watching Rashford get 1 in 15 or whatever. So,
what have you made of Højlund so far?
Tricky. I mean, I thought he was good against Galatasaray. His movement was good and looked a real player, but other than that, I don't know if we've got the service into him, to be fair to him, but I can't think in a league game where I thought that he looks of note. But I think that's probably kind of what everyone said pre-season. It's what we said on here, is that we're not buying a finished article. We're buying a 20-year-old lad who'd scored 10 goals last season. There's not a 20-year-old striker anywhere that plays consistently every week, is there? Look at Evan Ferguson, who everyone raves about. He's in and out of the team, isn't he? So
it's going to cost a monster amount of money.
Evan Ferguson?
Yeah, it'd be huge.
No, I know he will, but we might be as good as he is and as good as I think he will become, Evan Ferguson. Let's say he goes to someone next summer for, the mad money. I think we might be in the same boat with him, where you think, is he? How good is he? But the 20, there's not many strikers who are 20 who
It's interesting that though, because
either.
some of the more finished article signings, which I guess Onana comes into that bracket, of give you problems. And all I mean by that is Casemiro came in, and I think he had a transformative first 6 months for you, lifted the whole football club. I think arguably definitely the biggest reason why you got back into the Champions League actually last year.
Agreed, yeah.
But looking like he needs a bit of help now. So he became a solution that's now possibly becoming a problem. And similarly, Varane has been an absolutely brilliant centre-back, but you can't keep him fit for a whole season.
No.
He's got too many injury issues, unfortunately. So you're chopping and changing. And now Martinez has obviously had this reoccurrence injury, and he's a big player for you.
Yeah.
So defensively, it just looks like the team's changing every week, to the extent you've had Johnny Evans playing recently.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant about plugging the holes. And I think it's an interesting comparison. Look at Højlund and go, not finished, need to give him time. But look at the actual signings that you did make that would have finished articles, arguably, have now become part of the problem.
Yeah.
Onana needs more time, but you've used some brilliant analogies for him in terms of what he can and can't say.
Yeah, but I just can't work him out at all, because he's not a young goalkeeper. He's not David De Gea when he first came to the club. He's not a young goalkeeper, and yet he just looks like an outfielder in goal sometimes. Like when someone gets sent off, the way he dives and the way he falls on balls, and you just think,
what you saying? John O'Shea's the answer? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe. Oh, we've bought Evans back. Yeah, get John O'Shea back next. But I don't look. It's been 15 games or whatever for Man United, so I don't want to write him off too early. But I think sometimes there's a danger that you go, just give him time. You think, this is what I'm coming to, and I'm not necessarily saying this about Onana yet, but this is what I was saying earlier about just being ruthless with players. If you know for a fact that they're not going to do it for you, just cut your losses on it and have done with it. And
you can't now, can you, at this stage of a season? He's obviously going to play in goal, and that's not going to change.
But I mean, to be fair to him, he's the last few matches he's been all right, hasn't he? But we're already 3 or 4 mistakes down here. We're already probably out of the Champions League top 4 race, top 5 race, whatever it might become. we're just about hanging on in the Champions League. If we can beat Copenhagen twice, then if we beat them twice and beat Galatasaray, then we're through, I think, aren't we? So, but it's not an ideal scenario. I do wonder if he is how good he is, and I'm talking to someone who did not seen a lot of him. Obviously, seen him a couple of times for Inter Milan last season, and bits and bobs on that Ajax run that you referenced earlier. But so I've only maybe watched him 20 times, so I don't know. But some of the goals we've let in, it's like he's never played in goal. Sometimes it's very odd.
Yeah, he's conceded some strange ones. I think the thing is as well, you'd probably accept it more if it, and he does look amazing on the ball, etc.
Yeah.
But if it had a transformative effect on the playing style, then you'd accept it a bit more. But the football was not improved.
Yeah, I mean,
from the team.
That's probably not his fault, because probably when they got him in, I assume Ten Hag was thinking, right, playing with Martinez, Varane, Mason Mount, these type of players who are good at receiving it deep and on the half turn, and you can get up and play some football. That isn't going to be possible with the likes of, Maguire, Lindelof, McTominay, these type of players, because they don't have that skill set to play football like that. So it's no one's fault, probably, apart from, like I said earlier, have we kept players on for too long? Should we have just said, thanks, but no thanks, and got rid earlier?
Is that a Harry Maguire reference? Because he's got this amazing winning record when he plays.
Yeah, I mean, one of the worst statistics I've seen of all time. What was it? Since October 22. So since
a specific date. Yeah.
Yeah, since he was bombed out for our worst start ever. It only includes starts, doesn't it? So it doesn't make any reference to the Arsenal game when he come on and we got beat, or the Sevilla match where we were 2-0 up and he scored an own goal and we got beat 5-2. So it doesn't make reference to them. Most of it's cup games against nobodies. I think even the league games, in one of my pettier moments on your Slack channel, I went to find the league games that we'd won.
You've got to win them all, in fairness, though. But yeah, they look like a winnable set of fixtures. You can't argue.
Yeah, some of them were dead rubbers at the end of last season. I think obviously you've got Brentford this season and Sheffield United earlier. Yeah, I think there was a Leeds in there and a Bournemouth and a So he's not trusted for the big games, and I mean he's got a great record when he plays, but he's trusted to play in the games that are a lot easier. And like I say, it doesn't make reference when he comes on as a sub and the roof caves in.
Is that what you mean? But I guess, in fairness to United did try and sell him in the summer, didn't they? In fairness,
it sounds like well, this is it, but. What does that mean? Because if you want to sell someone, you get rid of him. He should have been made to him perfectly clear that you've got no future at the club, and we wanted to sell him. He's refused to go because he wants his contract. That's fair enough, but the answer to that then can't be, you can play every week then.
No, but at
the answer
the moment,
to that is you say you've got no future.
You've got yourself in a position where your two first choice centre backs are injured, all three left backs are injured, one of your right backs is injured. It has been enforced, doesn't it?
Maybe, but yeah, he shouldn't be anywhere near that team, unfortunately, and they should have just done everything they could to get rid of him. But anyway,
who would you rather played if it was one of Maguire or Evans?
God, what a question.
They've won back-to-back games, mate.
Yeah, against who? Against
Brentford and Sheffield United.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I liked Johnny Evans when he was here first time round. I don't think Van Gaal should have sold him. But yeah, I mean, how old is he now? I don't know. 37, is he? Yeah, look, like you say, we've had a pretty bad run of injuries, so it is what it is, unfortunately. But
I love the fact that you just refused to answer the question, so I'm going to move on.
I can't answer that question. Yeah, I can't answer that.
One more before we finish, because I think it's obviously been around the club a lot with Sancho.
Yeah.
What's your take? Is this one there where United have got to go, this has failed, move on, you've let down the manager, or do you have sympathy with him? How do you feel about it?
I think I've got a little bit of sympathy for him that I don't think he got, like I've just said about Rashford and Antony, in that he didn't get the run of games to see if we could make him into a player. And from what we all seen at Dortmund and well, not really England, has he? But from he had a few cameos for England where he thought, oh, what a player he could be. His number, even if you didn't watch him at Borussia Dortmund every week, which I didn't, but his raw numbers would tell you what a talent he could have been. We spent 2 years trying to buy him, spent, what's he on, 80 million quid, was it? 375 grand a week. And we seem to have done everything we can not to give him a chance and a run of games. Now, the flip of that is he's not done anything in those games to deserve a second chance, but neither's Antony and neither's Rashford this season. So it's a difficult one. But, I mean, the thing I've heard, and this is, on the rumour mill, but this is because they lost a game in the training session and it was, you need to do 5 press-ups. He did 4. Ten Hag said, do your 5th. He said no, stormed in, and that was the Arsenal training week. So if that's all it's come down to, then that seems petty.
One press up.
But clearly they don't have a relationship, those two. Ten Hag doesn't have the relationship he thought he had with Sancho, where he can make someone do what he wanted him to, or clearly he couldn't call him out in the press like he did. Some managers and some players have that relationship, don't they? Maybe a bit more of an old-fashioned style. That relationship's clearly gone. If Ten Hag's going to stay at the club, which he probably will, I don't think there's any way back for Sancho. And he's not. We might be missing out on the potential and what a missed opportunity it is, but we're not missing out on 20 goals a season for us. So I think while we still can, try and be a bit ruthless and try and get some good money back for him and for the good of everyone. And
it sounds like a different environment for the player as well. Would probably be beneficial.
I mean, there's always been whispers about wherever he's been, he had problems, didn't he, with his training and his lateness. That was the thing at Dortmund and with Guardiola and with Gareth Southgate. So you're talking all very different types of managers there. So yeah, probably sounds like he needs a change of scenery, and we just try and get. Don't know what would we get for him still. Surely get 50, 60 million for him, would we? I don't know. I don't know what we'd get back for him now. 40.
You're probably going to have to subsidise it a bit at the moment. I mean, what top club in this country would take those wages right now?
Well, this is another. If he wants to leave, then this is the argument with Maguire, wasn't it? If he wants those wages, these players should accept that they're not worth those wages anymore.
But they don't have to take a reduction in their salary. In any other walk of life, we wouldn't accept that, would we? Right? So
no, but then they should just say you're not playing. I'm not saying you have to sack them, but then you just don't play for the team anymore. There's got to be a negotiation there. There's no other walk of life, James, where you'd get a massive pay rise and then be able to just hack it in.
I wouldn't get a pay rise, but if I was on 375 grand a week and not doing a lot, and then had to do more to get 200 grand a week, I mean, these are obviously absurd numbers we're talking about, but
yeah,
I don't know. You wouldn't take it, would you?
No, but you wouldn't have the opportunity. You would be phased out, wouldn't you? You'd have performance plans and meeting, and HR would be involved.
Well,
and
maybe that's what's happening.
Yeah, maybe, and eventually it'd be thanks for everything, but off you go. So the clubs as well, the clubs and the players should be a bit more grown up about it and say, look, it's clearly not working. You're free to go to anywhere else you want and get whatever money you want, but you're not worth £375,000 a week as it stands.
If you want to get rid of the player that much, you want to take a reduction in salary, you can't expect to get the big transfer fee.
Well, no, that's what I didn't know what the big transfer. I was trying to work out sort of on the fly what we would get for him. I don't know what we would get for him. Yeah, 40.
Probably looking at loans and 20. Someone taking his salary. Probably the most likely solution.
But then this comes back. You're not really getting rid of the problem. Then you're just lingering on that. Don't load. Just get rid of them.
And Manchester United full circle. Here we are.
Because this is it. Because then in 18 months, let's say Ten Hag leaves, then someone says, "Oh, Sancho's always been a player. I can get something out of Sancho." and then we're in the same boat again. And then he'll, So, and look, this is the other thing. They should be prepared to get it wrong. The big managers sell players all the time and get it wrong. Mourinho done it. Look at all them Chelsea players Mourinho sold. Did he sit there and go, oh, I can't
Ferguson and Yap Stam?
Precisely. They know they got it wrong. They didn't say they got, oh, I got it wrong. They just went, well, fuck, I got that wrong, but so what? We're still going to win a league title. We're still going to go far. And it seems to be this thing now that the clubs and the managers are overthinking about, oh, I can't sell De Bruyne because it'd be on Twitter, I'll be a meme on Twitter. It's like, just if they're not working for you and they're not going to be your plans for the next year or two, we should just look to move on. And
that sounded like a fantasy soundbite there. So, if Fernandes and Rashford's not working out for you in your fantasy teams, what should you do with them?
If you've come this far with them, I feel such sympathy because you'd think every week, I can't sell him before Brentford at home. I can't sell him before Sheffield United away. I can't sell him before, And the thing is, I think that if you're in that boat, I think do it now because even if Rashford gets 2 against City, I think you'll feel that you made the right decision selling him before Manchester City, and then you don't have to worry about it for this next run of games that comes up. If you don't do it now, you're going to get to the week after
game week 14. You got Fulham, Luton, and Everton as your 3 after Manchester City. They're never going to go.
So you're not going to do it, and then you're going to think, I can't sell him before Fulham. I can't sell him before Luton, and before you know it, it'll be, and you might have missed out on another 3 weeks of Martinelli or Maddison or the hundreds of players at that level.
They're not. Bruno could have hauled it, particularly at Sheffield United. And in fairness, Rashford could have as well. But I took the choice after your game at Burnley. I'd seen enough with Rashford, and I took a hit to move him to Son.
Yeah,
and look at the difference over
precisely.
the last few weeks. Yeah. And there's the psychological, emotional, I'm getting Sonny, I'm cursing him or whatever. And I'm bringing Sonny in for Liverpool. And I think you had a straightforward fixture. I was like, no, I've seen enough. It's got to go. There's so many good options. I don't know how you'd probably, unless you've got really, really worse problems, if you're sitting there looking at Fernandes, Rashford this way and not looking at like Saka, Martinelli, Bowen, Son, Maddison, Villa player, Diaby, Mitoma, all these potential options.
Yeah, I think now's your time. I think. Yeah, I think that's it. Because if you do it now, even if it goes wrong in the short term, you'll feel like you did it at the right time. If you do, and as well, obviously we don't want to advise flip flopping transfers, but let's say you sell now, and then Rashford's form comes back or United's form comes back. You've got. You still can go back sideways depending on who you buy him. You can still go back to him captain against Luton at home, which might be an option. If you hold on now, when are you going to sell? I mean, I
love that. Maybe they're an option at home to Luton, whilst Arsenal have got Burnley at home, Liverpool have got Brentford at home, week? Tottenham are at Wolves, Newcastle at Bournemouth, Brighton have got Sheffield United at home.
Yeah, no, but at least that's what I'm saying. At least if you sell. Then you think, do you know what? I have made a mistake. Rashford's back. Then you'd probably feel justified in buying him back for Luton, maybe. And I think you'd just feel better about yourself, and you'd feel that you've done the right things. If you don't sell them this week for Man City, you're going to be stuck with them for when does it get to? We've got Newcastle.
Newcastle away game week 14, and your December is tough. We spoke about it off camera before you start.
Game week 14 though, December.
Yeah, 2nd December.
So this is it. If you don't sell them this week, you are stuck with them until December, and then you probably think,
humbug.
Well, there's that, but then you have to get rid of them then, But then by then we'll need to ship our Man City out for their blank, and you just have all the other problems. So I think if you've got this far with them, been very unlucky given the fixtures, and I think this is the time to go, and then. When we get 2 on the counter-attack in a 2-0 win, then you can feel even worse for yourself. But I think you're going to get, like say, if you don't go now, you've got till Christmas. So, and I haven't got any, so I can't.
No, they're really gone for me now as well. Gary, good chat. Thank you so much. We could have continued for a lot longer, I suspect.
Yeah,
Good luck tonight
no
against
worries.
Copenhagen. Good luck in the Manchester derby at the weekend, mate.
We'll need it. Yeah. Thanks.
Anything you want to plug before you go, buddy?
No, not at all. Thank you.
Good stuff. I look forward to your next Clash of Correspondence appearance in December.
Oh, God.
Suj is back with me for the Sky Fantasy Football Podcast tomorrow. This week's COTC. Gary thinks he's got it bad. It's Bournemouth against Burnley with Neil Grover and Jack Toner. And I'll be presenting Not the Deadline stream on lunchtime on Friday. If you want to support the show, www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. And if you want tickets to the live show on Sunday, November the 5th, you can buy them via the link in the bio. But thank you so much, Gary. Good luck to United fans. Cue music, please, man child.